Alive. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. Tonight I have another great guest, Angelo Garcia of Whack-'em and Stackem Custom Baits. Gonna be talking about some great crappie baits that he makes. The first thing I'd like to tell you is the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show is going to take place January 6th through the 9th of 2022, and that's going to be at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison, New Jersey. The Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show is going to take place January 13th through the 16th of 2022 at the Lake County Fairgrounds in Grays Lake, Illinois. You know, guys, go on into the Grant Rods booth and tell them Jay sent you. More info, NI Sports Show. No, I'm sorry. Geez. ilsportshow.com. And without further ado, how you doing tonight, Angelo?
Good, Jay. How are you?
It's good to see you. I can remember you from way back. I'm doing actually a lot better. I'm doing.
Good to hear.
So let's hear what is going on at Whack-'em and Stackem Custom Baits.
Well, this I've told this story several times, and started off with a little bait company, little dream. I was a steel worker for quite some time, and
there you go.
Finally, one day I told the wife, I said, I'm gonna try my hand at doing something I enjoy. I'm gonna start making some jigs, and started off real simple on a little bench with a little pot and a little dream. And about 5 years later, here we are doing sports shows and in several bait shops. And we landed some contracts with Capco and Mystery Tackle Box. So,
yeah, Cop Joe, what a good guy he is.
Yes, Jimmy is one of our guys on our staff. He guides out of Shabana and Evergreen. And if you guys get a chance, give the crappie professor a call.
And Heideke too.
Yes, Heideke also
catches some monsters out of Heideke.
That's something.
Boy, I tell you, when I left, I bet you I only had a couple big crappies out of Heideke. It was in 2011 that I know Capco was already on it because Capco was always ahead of the pack.
Right.
But you know, it was just I had caught a couple of them. But I'm sure he was ahead of the pack with that.
Yeah, we had a very good year this year. The last 2 years have been pretty good. Once you get a shad hatch there at Heideke, it gets a little tougher as the season moves on. Then, of course, you got waterfowl season, and they shut the gates and the fishing gets real good. So,
of course,
you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. That's Heideke is such a good lake. It's such a special lake. It's a lake that has the best. When I was fishing, I thought it had the best trophy potential in the entire region.
Well, it really does. The fish that are coming out of there. I mean, we've caught, my wife, myself, have caught 14.5 to 15-inch black crappies out of there, and white crappie. You've got some black nose in there now that are kind of mixing up in the mix there. You got a lot of white, black, and then you get the occasional walleye mixed in with that stuff there.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of big walleyes there. A lot of real nice hybrids. Some great smallmouth bass. And,
I've got some good crappie within an hour of Chicago. You've got a really good fishery that has potential to be trophy size wall hanging type fish. If you're not used to
Highway 80, I mean, just
right
outside of the town of Morris,
right.
That was always my favorite. I was actually fishing at Heideke, and I was really tired. I came back. I had two really expensive rods with really expensive reels on them, and I stopped at McDonald's right there in Morris, and I was in there, and I got my food, came out to watch my truck.
Gone.
Already those two rods were gone. I could not believe. How did they have time?
Yeah, they find it when the gear's good. They find the time to get it.
And then my friend looked at me. He goes, "Well, just take this as a life lesson, man. You got lazy, and look what happened."
Oh yeah, I've had my trailer lights taken off here in Indiana.
Trailer lights. I've had people run into them, and
LEDs on the back of the trailer gone when you come back in. It's like, all right, I guess he needed them more than I did.
Somebody came up to your trailer with tools and took your trailer.
Took them off, yeah.
And even probably neatly snipped those wires too.
Yeah, it was a good clean job.
How could something so freaking simple be so complicated?
Well, what I did was I put some hex screws on there now. So I need Allen keys with some lock weld. So if they're going to get them, they're going to crack them this time.
I can't tell you how many times I was on Highway 39 going back to Peru from Shabana, out there in the middle of the night with a flashlight in my mouth trying to work on my trailer lights.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I did that.
The
And,
age of electronics has changed a little things now. So we've, with this live scope stuff and the hummingbirds and the Lowrance units, all this stuff has made fishing so much
easier.
Easier, yeah, for the guys. I come off the shore. I didn't own a boat till I was 48 years old. Okay. I'm 50 now. So I fished from the bank my entire life. Occasionally going out with a friend, and we had a little smoker craft when I was a kid with my dad. But
there you go.
Most of my fishing at Shabana was from the bank, fishing the cribs and the deep tree areas and the no motor zone or the campground area.
There you go. I spent so many nights on Shabana. Why don't we talk a little bit about the baits you make?
Sure. We make a variety of plastics.
You want to show them? You could please.
Yeah, I'll show you some of the stuff we're making, but let me get into what we make.
Sure.
This time of the year, with this transition of weather, I use a lot of twister tail stuff, and I usually do. Let me see the camera. There it is. I'll use a 16-ounce pill head right there. And okay. I love using stuff that kind of matches what's out there. We got a black shad, 2-inch twister tail. I do a lot of laminate baits. So
there you go.
That jig right there, I'll throw on with a 16-ounce pill head. And depending on my water depth, this is a good search bait. So I like casting, fan casting, and, kind of like at a 360 degree and then parallel to the shoreline and kind of find out what the fish are doing. But that is the bait I use a lot of the time to search for crappie.
Okay, so if you don't know where they are, like if you're on Lake Evergreen, I did a lot of searching like that.
We do that, and then once we find some fish, if we're like right now, depending on the body of water, I've been down to Run Lake the last 2-3 weeks.
Sure.
A lot of fish, very small. They're out in the deep trees. They should be pushed up right now. Water temperature was at like 58 degrees. So these bigger fish, some of them are coming in, some of them are not. So a lot of guys are not getting limits unless you really know where the deep brush piles are out in the main lake. Yes, they're catching fish. Fishing's pretty decent, but it's not what it normally is this time of the year. So I use this as a search bait. If we find them up shallow and they're pushing up shad, I'll go to something like we specialize in a lot of micro jigs.
Okay.
So here's a 1/64 ounce black shad, and we make them in several different colors, and we make custom colors. If you want a color that is particular to you, we can do that.
Sure. So if somebody wants a custom color, they can just message you and tell you.
They can message me. They can message our website, www.whackemandstackemcustombaits.com, or they can give me a call, email me. Once they email me, I usually give them my number, or they message me. I'll give them my phone number. We talk direct because I'm old school.
Sure.
I like talking to the people.
Sure.
And that little bait right there is very good under a float. Or if you're, pitching on a dock and you want a slow retrieve, I'd like to pendulum this jig because of its drop rate. That's a 64th ounce.
Sure.
Hot pink with a red sickle hook. I catch a lot of fish on that.
Do people use that for ice fishing as well?
You can. I have a 1-inch version of that that's a little bit smaller, and I got some stuff like our ice plastics. We got a bunch of ice plastics. This is one of the ones. I use it in a black and blue, solid black with blue flake. And there's an ice cricket.
Aha.
And that little bait right there is really deadly for bluegill.
Look at that little bitty thing, man. That's awesome.
So we got a lot of ice plastic. We got about 12 different style ice plastics, along with our full line of panfish stuff. Wren Lake, this is the kind of stuff we're using down at Wren. I'm using twister tails like I showed you guys. Right there, the black shad. We got a color called Crazy Monkey.
Crazy Monkey.
And that's like a monkey milk, our recipe monkey milk with some green chartreuse and a bunch of flake in it. That is a very good color. Of course, Deer John, which is John Deere green. Everybody loves John Deere.
John Deere green, yeah.
And then we got some solid black and chartreuse. And, here's one of the things you got to remember with this bait. Good search bait, easy to switch up colors. I don't put barbs on my hook unless guys request them because they tear your plastics up.
Okay.
So we use that bait there. We're going down to Ren Lake. We're fishing 10 to 12 feet right now. These fish are pushing up on over there on the bridges, up against the rocks outside the sailboat harbors, out by Gun Creek. If guys know the lake, they'll know where Gun Creek is. We'll take these 3/16 ounce pillhead. And I like using hot pink with Crazy Monkey. It's a great color down there on bright days. And we drop this down and we vertical fish with 10-foot rods.
Okay.
Over structure. So I have another jig that's particular to this one here. This one's got a keeper on it, but I have one that I modified. We call it a drop-off jig. And what it is like when we're ice fishing with tungsten, I want to be able to get that jig down quick enough, but I want to be able to have a small enough plastic for it. So what I mean by that is I'll use a shorter shank I'll use a shorter shank hook so that I can fit a twister tail or downsize my plastic to something that's like 2-inch,
Okay.
but still have the weight to keep the bait down and vertical.
Okay.
So that is something we use down there. This time of the year, depending on water temperature, like I said, most of the water temperature is like 58 degrees. We've warmed up a bit. It's gotten cold at night, 58 to 65 degrees during the day. I'm going to start shallow and work my way out first thing in the morning. Right before dark, them fish are pushing up into the shallows again. I'm going to go back to what I know and under a float or a twister tail and find fish. So we have that. We got a lot of 2-inch style baits like this willow right here. We use these a lot at Heideke.
Okay.
With Jim Capco. We use a monkey milk with a chartreuse tail and John Deere green.
What kind of tail is that?
It's a willow.
Okay.
So we'll do that and we'll pitch that with these 16-ounce jig heads and we'll pendulum that down over, there's some brush in there that people have inserted illegally that we use as fish catching areas. But that's how that tail looks on that bait. I'm not moving it. That's just its natural action. So we got right there is what it looks like.
Okay.
So we got a willow. We've got a split tail bait. We also have a 2-inch Berkeley style. It's a suicide minnow, we call it. Why do we call it that? Because it's on a one-way mission. It ain't coming back.
It ain't coming
without
back.
a fish wrapped around its mouth.
Not in Heideke, that thing's not coming back.
Suicide minnow. That's some crazy monkey right there, Jay.
Crazy monkey?
Yes, sir.
Who was it? I think it was Reef Runner who had monkey puke.
Monkey puke, yep. And like I said, we got different colors of these. The good thing about what we're doing is if you want a custom color, we have it. This is like a monkey milk. This is a very popular one here is black shad. We also have baby bass. And we have, here's something like this would be a blue with pearl, which blue and white, blue and pearl.
Oh, that's a hot color.
Nice looking color.
Yeah, that's a hot color right there. I like that.
And then, if we're downsizing baits, we have, here's something like, I've caught a lot of fish early after ice down at Ryan because it don't ice there too much, but the water's very cold. After ice, if we're going to switch and downsize baits, here's our chow bell.
Chow bell. That's another color. That's beautiful.
And then, we have that. And then if we want to downsize and it's a real finicky bite, we're going to go to the itty bitty chow bell. That is a 0.75 bait that we'll cast under a lightning strike indicator. And I'll set it about 3-4 feet to start off with a few split shots and a peg and start working that bait real slow with some scent.
Okay.
So we got jig heads. We make, all different colors. We've got all different sizes. This is a 1/80th. It's so small.
1/80th.
1/80th ounce.
Wow, I don't think these old eyes are having a hard time seeing that. It's so small. Yeah.
Yeah. So we go all the way to 1/100th, all the way down to most of our crappie jigs are 1/100th to 1/8. We got 1/80th, 1/100th, 1/80th, 1/64, 1/32, 1/24, 1/16, 1/8. And then beyond that, it's called custom orders. But these are some of those plastics. Early year, like doing a lot with these too. Here's our stinger and like candy corn. This little bait right here, it's kind of hard to see, but here you go. That little bait there is a stinger. Now that stinger, believe it or not, I go down a Navy Pier and I use this Castmaster spoon right here.
Okay. I
And
remember.
I'll throw that hook on. I'm gonna give you perch guys a little tip.
Ooh, look at that. Look at that. That's
So
a
I'm gonna
sickle
take that
hook.
hook and I'm gonna take that bait and I'm gonna run that hook there. I don't fish with live bait at all. Not saying that you can or you go, whatever, but that's what I do to that bait right there. And I put a gulp maggot on there.
Okay.
And I cast that into them weed beds that are still remaining at Navy Pier. And they annihilate that.
Perch?
When they're in there, the perch, yeah.
Man,
So,
you can out on that thing too.
You got a lot of flash and you got a baby perch looking color there. It looks like the year of the young. And as we all know, they're carnivores, so they're gonna eat their own. We're just trying to match that hatch, right? Right, Jay?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what we want to do there. That little stinger, though, I throw on a 64th ounce. Sometimes I free fall. If you're working docks, I'll take this 64th ounce for bluegill and crappie, and I'll use a yellow chartreuse jig or yellow chartreuse or a hot pink, and I'll throw that stinger on it. And what we'll do is toss that, and because this is so light, that drop rate got a natural fall. It looks like a natural bug, natural minnow. I want to make it as natural as I can get it to induce that strike. There you go. Look at it.
Wow. Are you going to be bringing all these products out to the Northern Illinois Sports Show?
Will all be at the Northern Illinois show. We got some new stuff that we haven't even released yet.
There you go.
Coming out.
There you go. That's
so
exciting.
We have some new products coming out, but that's a very good color. Candy corn, black shed, crazy monkey. Those are things that you want to have in your arsenal if you want to panfish.
Oh yeah, you catch those big with those.
So yeah, we really those are some of the things there. We also make a flick tail.
What, you flip tail?
This is a flick tail in here.
Wow.
This is I make these in the hundreds for guys in South Carolina that fish Lake Wiley.
I bet. We have to pause for 20 seconds for a commercial real quick, and I'll be right back with you.
Yes, sir. How we do, Jay?
Hold on. Oh, shoot.
Right here for Grant rods. Musky fishing's a tough deal. And the job's not done until she's in the bag. Well, how do you do that? It's pretty simple. You need big dog rods from Grant Rods. For your next rod, call them at 847-577-0848. Building custom rods since 1983.
And we're back. We're talking live with Angelo Garcia of Wackem and Stackem Custom Bait Company. And he has been showing us some really, really, really cool baits. Good to have you back, Angelo.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
Angelo, we have a question for you from a Mark Toth. He says black shed stingers for high pressured water on 1/80th ounce jig under a strike indicator has been killer for me all year. Are there any smaller stingers available?
That's about as small as they come in at. What you can do is you can modify. The great thing about the plastics that we do make, I would probably say you can cut these down on the top here, Mark. So you can just trim that down a little bit, pinch it off, and be done. You really want to shorten it up.
Okay. Well, that's a good, I do that with a lot of the things like this that I use for bass or
Right.
even redfish down on the coast. I'll cut it off.
Yeah.
Cut it off like right there.
Right.
And if I don't have anything, I'm not above biting that thing.
Right. Exactly.
When I'm out on the water, I don't like to waste time.
We do that a lot with we do make a full line. We're gonna have some bass products here that we make. We've been getting into that in the last couple of years, so there'll be stuff you can see here. But I want to get into. We got any more questions?
That's the only one we have so far.
Okay. So we got here was that comparison on them two jigs. So I was telling you, one's got a longer shank. That's a 3/16 ounce pillhead. And then this one's got the number 4 hook on it. It's got a short shank. And what I was getting at with that was showing you that if I want to downsize a plastic in them situations, they're not hitting that big plastic, that 2.5 inch deal. I can take another bait and I could put that on this smaller hook. So say I want to get a twister tail down there, a willow, I could take that and put it on here, and now we've downsized our bait, but we still have the weight to keep it down where we need it, 10 to 12 feet.
Okay.
So that worked very good for me at Shelbyville and Rend when you're looking to go with heavier weight vertical jigging.
Well, most jig companies do not make short shank jigs. I have used them back in the, I used to be a big time walleye fisherman before I went, all into bass.
Right.
And when I found those short shanks, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I like to use them with minnows,
Right.
Well, here's Mark Toth again. He said, "Will you ever be making a suicide minnow larger than the 3-inch version on a 1/16 ounce pillhead jig?"
That is something we can do. First time I ever heard that. Make it a larger one
for smallmouth bass.
He does a lot of he's a smallmouth guy. Cool.
Oh, I love smallmouths. Mark.
So that's what I would do with this is I kind of put these on here, and that would give me again that weight that we're looking for. Yes, that is a possibility to get a bigger. You get into anything over 3 inches now, you're starting to look at a jerk bait. So that's something that you could put on that jig.
Oh, with that split tail like that? Wow. Yeah, man. If you had that as a 4-inch, or this is a 3.5 inch.
Right.
Man.
So those are things you could do. There's a lot of flexibility with what we're trying to do here. There's multiple things you could do with the jig. There's multiple things you could do with the plastics.
Well, I'm just brainstorming here, man. That thing a little bit longer, walleyes, smallmouth bass. Down here on the coast, you're going to be catching. That's going to be speckled trout city right there.
Yeah, we got 5-inch jerk shad. I used to make that, and guess what really works on them speckled trout?
What's that?
And them flounder. The Midwest, what do they call it? We call it the belly buster. It's the Erie Darter 4-inch.
Okay. Start
throwing those. They love that bait for saltwater.
Oh yeah. I saw your split tail there, and I'm like, that's Trout City, Ryan. Trout City.
We got some 3-inch twister tails too. That you.
Look at that twister tail. That's like a 3, man.
Yep.
That's not just any twister tail.
So you got that, and we have 12 different varieties of ice plastics. We have a ton of summer panfish plastics for crappie. You're going to catch a multitude of fish on this. These twister tails, honestly, you're going to catch everything. Bass, crappie, walleyes, sauger. I've caught everything on it. they're going to hit it. And, we got a real subtle tail on our twister tail. I used to be a really big fan of Kalen's for a long time.
The Kalen's
And,
grub?
yeah, I used Kalen's for a long time, a 2-inch grub. Once
Well,
I started making my own and got some molds made, I got it to where I wanted the tail a little bit smoother and a little bit lighter. Takes less action on the reel, spinning reel, to make this tail do what it's going to do. So you can use a lighter jig and still get great action on that. You could throw this with a 32nd ounce jig, get it at the drop rate you want, and still catch fish.
Yes, I don't know what to say. That's some. I
Took
really
a lot of time to think about it for a while. We did.
Yeah, I really like those. I really like Mark's idea of something a little bit more than 3 inches long.
Yes. And if you do want jig heads, here was a custom order that I just did for a guy yesterday out of Texas. He wanted me to make a 1/8 ounce with a number 4 hook.
Okay. For crappies, probably?
For crappie, but they're fishing in Texas. Now look at how small that hook is.
Jeez.
That's a number 4 hook, and they got to be fishing with a 1/8 ounce head on it. So they're fishing probably deep brush and trying to do the same thing I'm doing with this 3/16, but with a little more finesse.
Sure.
Little less of a drop.
A little cleaner water, yeah.
This guy's going to plummet. The 3/16 is going to go down right away. This is going to go down a little bit slower.
Yes.
So I think that they're really, with the weather getting cooler down there where they're at, they're looking to do some stuff like that with it. So we make stuff like that where we can customize to your specific liking what size hook and stuff you want on it.
Okay. So you are going to be at the Northern Illinois Sports Show. I assume you're going to have a great big booth?
Yes, we'll have 2 booths there.
Okay.
And we're going to have a multitude of little bit of everything. We got fishing line. We have all of our float systems. We're going to have all of our plastics. Anything that we use to catch fish, we're going to have the majority of it there.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a fun show. That's going to take place January 13th through the 16th. He's going to be there for 4 days. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. Go, come on out and talk to Angelo live at the Northern Illinois Sports Show. And just like
we'll answer any of your questions. If you got a question, there's nothing that our guys. We'll have a few guys there that have been with us for about 4 or 5 years now. So they use the baits, know how to rig, and they'll answer your questions.
We have one last question for you, and that's
sure.
Belly busters on 6-pound test T-rigged are great for fishing slop. The hook set is better than it is with frog fishing, and hands down, I'm in love with all the crappie baits.
Yeah, yeah. The Belly buster is really good for what Mark's trying to do there. That bait drops real slow, depending on the size of odd hook you're using the bass fish with. The Belly buster, by design, you can work that bait and rig that bait so many different ways. All it is the 4-inch Erie Darter. We got the Erie Darter Juniors, and we got the Big Daddy ones, the 4-inchers. And you could Texas rig that. You can rig it down the middle. You can rig it through the side. Each way you rig that bait's going to react a different way. So it's a great versatile bait for doing those kind of things. And it kind of reenacts like a flailing shad with its profile. So it's a great bait. My dad uses the pearl and silver. He loves that color.
Pearl and silver, man. There's a classic. If you're working a place where there's a lot of shad, but pearl and silver, that just cannot be beat.
I got to mention a couple of things here.
Sure, go right ahead.
We're also going to have these at the show. We're going to have our Professor Pro Packs.
The Professor, is that a Jim Capco thing?
This is me and Jim came up with this Pro Pack, like a kind of a taste and a starter kit.
There you go.
The bait that we're using on Shavana and a couple different other lakes, Evergreen, over at we actually fished shallow at Heideke with this earlier in the season. inside
Sure.
the marina. We'll fish up on the rocks looking for crappie. So we'll have a bunch of pro packs. We'll have our 100-piece kits, and here's another little good gift idea or something that you can give to somebody that you love that wants to fish. Well, let's see if I can get it going here. There you go.
Ooh, look at that stuff.
So you got a multi-variety of all the stuff that we have. 100 pieces, you get 90 plastics and 10 jig heads. So it gives
Well,
you a
that'll get a guy
taste.
going.
Huh?
That'll get a guy going.
Oh yeah, of course. It'll get you in a good start, and then we're gonna have one more thing that we're coming up with this year. This is my dad's grandpa's favorite.
Grandpa's favorite.
That's my dad, and we got a decal made for him, and he picked his top 5 or 6 baits and jig heads he uses, and we're gonna have a kit available at the shows first year.
Nice. I like it. So guys, yeah, come on out to the show. Talk to Angelo. Talk to Jim. Talk to Jim Grant.
Capco.
Jim Capco will probably be out there. All kinds of people to talk to, man. It's going to be a fun show. And also, Mark just asked. He said, "How about Grandpa's favorites?" I think you just showed Grandpa's favorites.
Yes, I did. Grandpa's favorite's going to have a multitude of plastics that my dad handpicked. That he says if he was stranded on an island and he had one thing he needed to take with him in a kit, these would be the baits. So I let him pick them.
But if I was stranded on an island, I'd want I want a freezer that works full of meat.
Yeah. He's always thinking fishing, Jay.
I know.
Always.
So am I. I'm just being funny there, you know. But well, when you're confronted with that, you know, like after the hurricane,
yeah.
I wish I didn't have just rotting meat in my freezer. That's why I say that now.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So I get a different perspective living down here.
Oh, I'm telling you.
But you know, there is a lot of good fishing, particularly for crappies down here.
I'd be in heaven.
Yeah, there's a lot of good fishing for crappies, but it's a little different because they're much more spread out. You don't find 60 crappies on one tree because there's if you look down the shoreline, there's probably 70 different trees in the next 100 yards. You know,
you got to bounce around a little bit, huh?
Yeah, so you know you cast here, you cast there. You know, a lot of the crappies are on isolated weed clumps out in the middle of a bay. It's just a little different, you know, because there's so much wood. Sometimes they relate to something different.
Not all wood is created equal.
It's not, and you know, and I like to fish crappies in deep water. There is no deep water around here.
Right.
You know, well, of course, everybody fishes them in shallow water in you know, late May, but
yeah.
So hey, Angelo, do you have any shout outs you'd like to make? Any thank yous?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Jim for Jim Grant for putting on the show.
Yes.
That's got involved with that. Jay, thank you for putting us on here tonight. I appreciate that. I'd like to give all my guys that have come along with us the last 5 years, Mark, Toth, Jeremy Jekyll, and Joe Worth, and Dave Santos, Bob Tinky, and you guys all know who you are. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I love you guys. Thanks for all the hard work. Jim Capco, another one of our staff guys, does a great job putting people on fish, very educational.
You know, Jim Capco was one of the best technical fishermen I've ever known. I talked to probably sometimes 8 different fishermen in a day on the phone trying to get this show together.
Right.
And Jim is the guy. I've known him for, I think I met Jim in like 97.
Yeah.
And we've grown as fishermen together. Of course, he grew a lot more than I did. You know, as far as being a fisherman, I just think he's better than me. But I don't know anybody who can analyze a bite better than Jim Capco.
He puts the time in on the water and he picks it apart and does homework at home. And it is scientific with him. A lot of the times he really puts a lot of effort into that. So it is the people that go fishing with him have the best chance to have the best time they can have. Not only memories, but, you know, nice stringer of 10 or 15, you know, to take home and eat.
2 years ago when I wasn't sick, when I came home, Jim Capco was good enough to take my son and me out fishing.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, Jim was saying there's fish are down 13 feet. So he would, you know, would put Matt's bobber down 13 feet, and I put mine down too. I just wanted I wanted Matt to be on fish. You know, he gets to fish once a year.
Right.
When I come home, and I asked Jim, you know, you are the one guy I trust to take out and really show my son a great time and be respectful to my wife. And you know, that was exactly I told you. My wife was like, well, what's this guy going to be like that we're going to be fishing with? And I said, he's probably going to be one of the more respectful people you're ever going to meet.
Right.
And he was, you know, he made her feel right at home. She doesn't like to fish for crappie. She likes to fish for redfish out here on the coast. So
yeah,
she likes 30-pound fish, you know.
30-pound fish. Well, we ain't got those besides the salmon
And the musk.
Maybe put in the muskies, but yeah, all the bait shops, you know, Fish Tech in Morton Grove, they're big supporters of ours, and we have a lot of their products there. We got Sportsman's Den Cedar Lake. We have Track and Channel in Syracuse, Indiana.
There you go.
Rockville Lake, and we have the Plymouth True Value Michiana Firearms. All those people have been the reason, another reason why we're here now and able to do what we're doing. So I want to thank everybody, all the business owners that support our little small local business, and everybody that's kind of embraced us in the fishing industry and taking us in. So thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I know you're a busy man. And, you know, just thank you for coming on and talking to our listeners.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. I mean, if anybody has any questions, just email me, Whack'em and Stackem 1971 at gmail.com. You can go to our website, message us there. You can message me on Facebook. We have a Facebook group called Whack'em and Stackem Custom Baits Group. You can get onto that, and you could see all the photos and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And people are more than willing to share information on tips and techniques that we're using to catch these fish. So it's a good community.
If you want to talk to Angelo face to face, come on out to the sports show, man.
Absolutely. We're going to be there. We're there to answer questions. I get a good time, and I got to defend I got to bring this up because the guys are going to laugh. I got to defend so last year was 20, my 2019 Trout Pond Championship. I won in 2019. I am the defending, reigning Trout Pond champion of 2019. Are you going to go on tour? I'm thinking about it. We might go professional here if I get a couple sponsors.
Next thing you know, you're going to have to talk to Pure Fishing, and man, maybe they'll finance that.
You think I get some trout worms?
Yeah. You just want some Berkeley trout bait for free, yeah.
Yeah, I got to get me some funds. So yeah, that's really what we're here. My dad and my wife, who puts up with this crazy life.
Yes.
And she is a part of this. She makes a lot of the baits and does a lot of the behind the scenes work, and she doesn't get nearly the gratitude that she should for me. So I want to thank her and my dad.
Oh, good for that.
So,
and like I said, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
No problem.
And in closing, I'd like to tell everybody that the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show is going to take place from January 6th through 9th of 2022. That's going to be at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison, New Jersey. The Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show is going to take place January 13th through the 16th of 2022. That's 4 days. And just like I told you, Angelo is going to be there. And that's going to take place at the Lake County Fairgrounds. That's in Grays Lake, Illinois.
Come on out. It's going to be a good show. That's a great venue. There's a lot of different guys going to be there, a lot of tackle companies. You're going to have some guys doing some guest speaking. You get to be able to pick Jim's brain. And you have Grant Custom Rods there. So if you're looking for a custom rod, stop by Jimmy Grant. Check it out. I got one. You need one too.
Oh, I have several. I love them.
Yes, sir.
Them. Sooner or later, that's all I'm going to use.
I got a 7-foot panfish rod. It's pretty nice.
Ooh, there you go. There you go.
Yes, sir.
There you go. 7-foot panfish rod. I'm going to talk to you about that. With that, guys, I'm going to sign off for the night. Thank you for watching.